Hi and welcome, Martina here. Today I'd like to create 3 tags using some easy techniques to add that special sparkle and shine and texture to your projects. I had the opportunity to work with Joka's new stencil and stamps. They are by the brand A Pocketful of Happiness, which is her own brand, and the products are maybe already available when the video goes live, or they will be available pretty soon. But now to my projects. I am starting by adding color to my tags. The tags are pre-cut from regular cardstock and I hadn't primed them in any way. I'm simply spraying the colors onto the tags until I like the coverage and then dry the color. You could also add the color with watercolor, with stamping ink, with the packaging technique, whatever medium you have handy and you like to work with. It's just really important that the cardstock is pretty well dried before you start adding any other medium to it. For my first tag, I'll be using the A Pocketful of Happiness stencil and Crafter's Workshop Tacky Win Dry Paste. I really love working with that paste with WOW products because when the paste is dry, it's sticky and it holds sparkles, but it also holds the Fab Foils. And if you know my projects, you know I always love a good sparkle and shiny detail on my projects. But really important, the paste has to dry pretty well before you can start working with them. In the drying time of my first tag, I'm working on the 2 others. On my second tag, I am applying a thin layer of texture paste, which is the Schminke Ultra Leicht Strukturpaste. I don't know if this brand exists outside of the German language room. It's my absolutely favorite texture paste because it's light, it gives you sharp imprints of your stencils, if that makes sense, and it dries white. I really love it. And for this technique, I've been applying the texture paste through the stencil and I'll be pouring Splash, this is a sparkle embossing powder, through or over the wet texture paste. Like this, the embossing powder is sticking or gluing on the wet paste, and I'll just let everything dry pretty well now. In the drying time of the 2 pastes, I am using a blender brush to apply embossing ink through the stencil, and I already knew that this will be the, well, I think most messy technique, but I know that there are some mixed media and maybe a bit more messy lovers out there, so I decided to give that technique a try too. I have just brushed the embossing ink through the stencil and have applied bonding powder over the still wet embossing ink. Right now you see me cutting off a small piece of the Teal Fab Foil. I always prefer having my foils cut and handy because I know I'm tending to get messy when I have the heat tool in one hand and the foil in the other hand. I would totally mess up when the foil is still on the whole packaging thing. So I'm just cutting small pieces and they are also really handy to work with, as you see now. The bonding powder has to be kind of warm to make sure that the Fab Foil sticks well on it. So I'm just carefully applying some heat to my bonding powder areas and pressing the foil into the freshly warmed areas. And in the meantime, my texture paste has dried pretty well, and I am carefully on the lower heat setting starting to melt the embossing powder on top of my texture paste. I'm using the lower heat setting because I don't like to cook my texture paste, which is still under my embossing powder, and I only want to melt the embossing powder but don't want to create any bubbles of my texture paste. That's why I'm just heat setting it really carefully. After that's done, I am ready for my third and last tag. I think that's my, favorite technique. It's a technique that is magic. You see me just applying the foil to the tacky when dry areas. I use a brayer just to give an equal amount of pressure to all the parts, but you can also rub the fab foils in it with hands or fingers. You see me now just recognizing that I have been too impatient. I have ripped a small part of the paper off because the paste wasn't completely dry, but I'll just cover that up when I'm decorating the tags, and that will be totally fine. Since all my 3 backgrounds are ready for decorations and getting, finished, I decided to skip a big part of the creating process because it's really a lot of repeating steps, which could be really boring for you. That's why we jump right into the end of my creating. I have just been stamping some of the A Pocketful of Happiness stamps onto vellum paper, and I stamped with the Wow embossing ink, and I have been using the Opaque bright white superfine embossing powder on them, and you just see me heat setting the powder quickly. I didn't even use the anti-static tool because Wow says it's not required with the powders they have because they have a anti-static treatment. And I'm trying to get rid of my habit of using my embossing body on each and every project. And can I just quickly say how much I love white embossed sentiments on vellum paper? It's just, I love it. I can't get enough of it at the moment. Yeah, and now I'm just finalizing my 3 tags. Each and every tag has some Alexandra Renke die cuts on it. These are the flowers. Some of them are colored with distress oxides and some of them are covered with sparkles. The sparkles I've been using for the tags are the earth sparkles, which are biodegradable. And I've been using Mahi, Blue Devil, and Stingray. And on top of that, I have been using a Kathy Sealskay for Simon's Day stamp die, which is the thank you die I'll be applying on each and every tag. And I just combine it with different stamps from Shoka, A Pocketful of Happiness. There's one tag that says, "You are my people, thank you." One says, "Thank you, even at my worst, I'm best with you." And one says, "Thank you, good heart, strong spirit, kind soul, true friend." And I think it's a good time to say thank you to people we appreciate. It's always a good time to say thank you, actually. Yeah, and these are my tags. I really love how same but still different they are because I've been using kind of the same things on each and every one, but since the backgrounds are completely different with the sparkle and shiny elements we've been adding in the beginning of the video, each of them is super special on its own. I really hope you liked this video. I hope you are inspired to get creative and maybe add some texture, sparkle, and shine to your next project. I hope we see you soon and wish you a wonderful day. Bye.